GMB's Scottish moment. Why that exchange left viewers unsettled. Something landed differently the moment those words hit the air. Not dramatically, not with fireworks, just that quiet, immediate discomfort that spreads through a live studio like a slow tide coming in. Viewers watching Good Morning Britain that morning felt it before they could fully name it. And within minutes, social media told the story of just how many people had noticed exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. Susanna Reid and Ed Balls are, by any measure, a well-established presenting duo. They have chemistry. They have rhythm. They know how to carry a morning show through breaking news, emotional interviews, and the kind of lightweight banter that keeps people company over their cornflakes. So when a moment creates friction, real, felt friction, it tends to stand out even more against that familiar, comfortable backdrop. What many viewers noticed wasn't necessarily a single sentence taken in isolation. It was the accumulation, the tone, the framing, the way certain observations about Scotland and Scottish identity seemed to arrive without the care or balance that a topic like that arguably deserves. Some people watching felt that the conversation veered somewhere it perhaps hadn't meant to go, and that once it got there, nobody quite steered it back. Ed Balls, in fairness, is a presenter who thrives on directness. His political background gives him a confidence in opinion that can be genuinely compelling on television. But that same confidence, viewers began to feel, sometimes crosses a line between commentary and something that feels more dismissive. There's a possibility that what was intended as straightforward analysis landed instead as something a little too casual about a subject that carries real emotional weight for a significant portion of the British public. Susanna, meanwhile, occupies an interesting position in moments like this. She is, professionally and emotionally, the anchor of whatever atmosphere exists in that studio. When she appears comfortable with the direction the conversation is heading, audiences tend to read that as a kind of editorial permission. And some audiences began wondering whether her engagement in this particular exchange, her laughter, her responses, her general alignment with the mood, sent a message she perhaps wasn't fully aware she was sending. That's the thing about live television. It doesn't give you a second take. Every facial expression, every pause, every small laugh is captured and broadcast and then replayed and dissected on smartphones within the hour. Viewers online interpreted the exchange as something that went beyond a simple political or cultural disagreement. For many Scottish viewers in particular, it almost seemed as though the conversation treated Scotland as a subject to be commented on rather than a community to be spoken with, and that distinction, however subtle, felt deeply significant to the people watching. The reactions that followed were sharp, not universally furious, but pointed in a way that reflected something genuine. Social media threads filled with people explaining, sometimes patiently and sometimes not, why the framing bothered them. Why it felt familiar, why it connected to a longer history of Scotland being discussed in certain ways on mainstream British television, ways that, while probably unintentional, carry a cumulative weight that individual presenters don't always seem to fully appreciate. What makes moments like this so fascinating from a television psychology perspective is the gap between intention and reception. It's almost certain that neither Susanna nor Ed woke up that morning with any desire to cause offense. That's not really how bias tends to work in practice. It's quieter than that. It lives in assumptions so familiar they've stopped feeling like assumptions at all. And that's precisely why, when they surface on live television, the reaction from those who feel it differently can seem disproportionate to presenters who simply don't. The studio atmosphere, and this is worth dwelling on, is something viewers read far more carefully than broadcasters sometimes realize. There's a moment in television where a slight shift in energy becomes almost visible. A guest's expression tightens slightly. The rhythm of banter loses half a beat. Someone smiles a little too quickly at something that didn't quite land. Whether any of that happened in this specific moment, some viewers certainly felt something off in the texture of the exchange, something that lingered after the segment moved on. And here's where it gets genuinely interesting from a media analysis perspective. Good Morning Britain has built a significant portion of its identity around being willing to go there, to have the conversations other breakfast shows soften or avoid. That editorial boldness is part of what gives the show its energy. But boldness without sensitivity can sometimes tip into carelessness, and when it does, the audience notices. Not always loudly, but consistently. And audiences, it turns out, have long memories. There's also something worth exploring in how this reflects broader tensions in British cultural conversation right now. Scotland's place in the Union, Scottish identity, Scottish political opinion, these are not peripheral topics. They carry real stakes for real people. When television presenters engage with them, even in passing, even in what feels like a throwaway exchange, the framing matters. The word choices matter. The body language around those words matters. Because somewhere watching, there are people for whom this isn't just content. It's about them. It's about where they live and who they're and whether the people talking about them actually understand anything about their experience. That human weight is exactly what viral moments like this carry out into the world long after the broadcast ends. While nothing has been confirmed about any formal response from ITV or either presenter, the conversation online has continued to grow, branching into wider discussions about representation, about how morning television handles cultural sensitivity, and about what audiences expect from presenters they invite into their homes every single weekday morning. Maybe what stayed with viewers wasn't just the specific comments themselves, but the feeling that the room didn't pause long enough to consider what it was saying. That split-second absence of hesitation, of care, of the small but meaningful acknowledgement that this topic carries weight, that might be the detail that proved most telling of all. What did you notice watching that morning? Did it land the way it seems to have landed for so many others, or did the reaction feel disproportionate to what actually played out on screen? Let's talk about it below, because conversations like this one are exactly why moments like this matter beyond the headline.